Well, hello, time travelers, and welcome, new time travelers. As always, if you're new to this channel and enjoy learning about history, one event at a time, not only from the US but also from around the world, then don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today we're going to start out in 1701 when the Act of Settlement, the law that continues to regulate the succession to the throne of the United Kingdom, was passed by Parliament. 6 years later, in 1707, Bahadur Shah I won the Mughal throne of India by defeating his brother Azam Shah at the Battle of Jarju. Moving on to 1776, when the Constitutional Convention of the Colony of Virginia adopted the Virginia Declaration of Rights, a model for the Bill of Rights later added to the Constitution. In 1898, the Philippines, under the revolutionary leader Emilio Aguinaldo, declared its independence from Spain. 1924, when George H.W. Bush, Vice President of the United States, who became the 41st President of the United States, was born. And we will get into the history of George H.W. Bush when we get to the 41st President. Moving on to 1939, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, held its first induction ceremony. Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Honus Wagner were among the inaugural class, which had been elected 3 years earlier. 2 years later, in 1941, American civil rights activist Medgar Evers was fatally shot outside his home in Jackson, Mississippi. His murder received national attention and helped galvanize the movement. 1967, in the Loving via Virginia, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously struck down the state law that banned interracial marriage rule, that it was unconstitutional under equal protection and due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Now in 1881, the action-adventure film Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Harrison Ford, was released in theaters, a huge success. It spawned numerous sequels. That's actually another good movie. Not saying that it's one of my all-time favorites, but it's up there on the list. 6 years later, in 1987, speaking about the Berlin Wall as he stood at the Brandenburg's Gate in Berlin, U.S. President Ronald Reagan famously entreated the Soviet leader, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. 1991. A series of major explosions began inside Montebello, a volcano in western Luzon, Philippines. Its first eruption in nearly 600 years. Now, there's another event that happened 33 years ago today. On this day in 1991, Boris Yeltsin was easily elected president of Russia, then part of the Soviet Union, in the Republic's first direct popular election on his president, or he was president of independent Russia until the eve of 2000. 2 years after the turn of the century, in 2002, the World Council of Religious Leaders begins a peace council in Bangkok, Thailand, seeking ways to reduce a sectarian conflict. The council, attended by more than 100 leaders in different religious and outgrowth of Millennium World Peace Summit in 2000. The following year, in 2003, American actor Gregory Peck, who often portrayed characters of honesty and integrity, most notably Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, that came out in 1962, passed away at the age of 87. Again, the following year, in 2004, in the U.S. Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands, the 60th commemoration of World War II Battle of Saipan and Titan, including an exhibit of panels narrating the expresses of Chamorro and Carolinian people in the World War II, showing for the first time the islanders' perspective on the battle. And finally, in 2016, the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history up to that time occurred when Omar Menton opened fire at Pulse, an LGBTQ nightclub in Orlando, Florida, killing 49 people and wounding more than 50. Sadly, I actually remember that. And with that, it will bring us back to 2024 and our current history. I will see you guys in the next one.